Hey guys, guess who it is? It is Avilo, Mech God Extraordinaire of the Metagame and all that. Bringing you a video before I go to sleep because even though I'm tired, I felt like I would do something productive before I fell asleep. So yeah, I was just thinking, guys. I haven't made one of these in a while. I haven't made one discussing the metagame. Especially after the last. I'm gonna take these off. The reflections getting crazy. But yeah, I haven't made a video talking about the metagame. Haven't made a metagame update in a while. So I'm gonna update you guys on the literal meta of StarCraft 2. Because why not? So basically, I just first of all, let's ask this question: is the meta good? Is the meta of the most recent patch good? I'm gonna say, I don't want this to be a depressing video, but so guys, the metagame is not good. It is not good at all. So the last big update, or the first big update they did, was supposed to make mech better. But here's the huge issue with the mech updates. They surprisingly, siege tanks actually received that huge damage buff to make them more like Brood War tanks. Yet surprisingly, games that involve tanks or mech are unplayable in certain situations. If your opponent knows that you're going mech. There's two units right now in the game that are ridiculously overpowered. The first one being Swarmhouse. If you try and go... mech in TVT is actually fine, for the most part. Mech in TVP, though, or in TVZ, if a Zerg sees you going mech, they can build, like, 10 to 15 Swarmhouse and continuously bomb your bases. Continuously Swarmhouse bomb your bases. They can continuously, with no counterplay involved, which is really, really depressing as a meching Terran, that the Swarmhouse still has not been hotfixed yet. This has been an issue that's been known about since 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months ago. Ever since they implemented the balance test ladder, the balance test mod, like actual ladder queue. We knew about this. I mentioned this months ago when I was playing against people on the test mod, on the test ladder, and I played like 4, 5, 6 Zergs that made pure Swarmhouse and Corruptors, and I said, this shit's broken, and then I never played the test mod again. Like, I don't know how many of you guys remember that. I mean, it was great that Blizzard put the test mod and did that for the community. The problem is they never follow up. And so, after I played like 5 games, and it must have been slightly more than that, because I ended up I never played the test map again until they released the live patch, and they still didn't make any changes to the unit on the live patch. But yeah, I mean, this has been known about. The problem is, big problem, developers don't play their actual game and if they do play the game, they don't have developers or people that play the game at a high enough level to recognize this stuff. Because it doesn't take a brainiac to understand that Swarmhouse are busted right now against mech play. Like, it's just a broken unit. As a matter of fact, they're not just busted against mech, they're busted against Protoss too. I don't know. Once again, I played like an entire week of Zerg where I just massed pure. I think I had like a 95% win ratio against Protoss with my Zerg, off playing only 2 base Swarmhost cheese, where I would open the game 2 base Swarmhost with a Nidus network. It didn't matter if the Protoss took a 3rd base, because guess what? When 10 Swarmhosts come through a Nidus Worm, launch the Locust in the air at your base, land on your Nexus, kill the Nexus, go back through the Nidus Worm, or just run back across the map because they can't be caught by anything. It's actually imbalanced as fuck. So against mech and Protoss, Swarmhosts are imbalanced, although I don't know how many Zerg players actually know that yet, but I'm sure Snoot and other people have already copied my Stormhouse style and realized how broken it is. I think I watched Stefano stream one time, and even he was doing it. He was starting to abuse the Stormhouse because they're so cheap. So that's one thing in the meta that's really bad right now, especially if you play mech. The next thing, TVP. Actually, every matchup. Carriers. Carriers are busted. They're still broken. Carriers actually counter their unit counters. Carriers counter Vikings. They counter Corruptors, which they're not supposed to counter. They counter everything. And the problem with this unit is it's too easily massable, and it's too cost efficient, especially when you have High Templar involved or Archons underneath. Then that's when the game starts to get really shaky, and units that are supposed to counter the carrier don't actually counter it, such as, like I just mentioned, Vikings, Corruptors, even Hydras, and they get the situation. Carriers don't have a counter, and I feel like Protoss has been balanced on a crutch. Like, it feels like Blizzard they don't balance Protoss. Protoss is literally balanced around imbalanced units. First, it's mass adepts. Now it's triple nexus every TVP, where you're just behind. And then, of course, now it's carriers and Tempests and Void Rays. Imbalance as hell. And what ends up happening now, because the carrier is so imbalanced, now we have to talk about the Battlecruiser. They buffed the BC as well. BC is also kind of strong, but they can be beaten if you know how to play Protoss properly. The problem is, what ends up happening is the Protoss at some point in the game will start carriers. This goes especially for mech, but it actually applies to Bio too. Bio can't beat carriers either, and once there's Psystorm with the carriers, then you just auto lose, which isn't fun. And it's the same thing as Zerg against Zerg. Once there's 8+ carriers and Psystorm and Archons, Zerg player can't win the game if the Protoss knows what they're doing, because Vipers get feedbacked, Infestors will get feedbacked. The game gets ridiculous at that point. So the issue is, and this has been an issue for the longest time in StarCraft, air units are too powerful. I mentioned this a while ago, but you can't, like, carriers beat Thors, they beat Marines, they beat Mines, they beat everything. Same thing for Battlecruisers, same thing for Broodlords. It's messed up. So, anyway, so the meta right now for Terran is basically TVT, you can make it happen. TVZ, you want to try and turtle into mass ravens, because if you don't do that, you're going to die. TVZ is actually a weird matchup, because Innovation 1 IEM, the last IEM, he basically did double reactor cheese every game, and Dark had no clue how to play against it, so he lost. But that build is actually like a trash build. Like, people, like, literally, like, 2 days, or like less than a day after that build came out, people realized, oh, you just go 2-base Muta and you get a free win, and then you make Stormhouse. But yeah, so TVT, you can mech it up, and TVZ is unplayable with mech if the person knows about how abusable Stormhouse, how overpowered Stormhouse are. And then TVP, you basically try and mass 20 BCs every game and hope that you can get there. Otherwise, you auto lose every game to carriers. So that about sums it up. It's a pretty shitty meta. It's a really shitty meta. And, you know, where are the balance changes? Where are the tweaks to all this? There are none. Blizzard doesn't give a fuck. I say this every fucking video. They make 1 or 2 changes, and then they don't do anything for, like, months. Which is really disheartening, because this game, honestly, StarCraft 2 deserves a lot more fucking developer attention than it gets. Deserves way more. I fucking love this game as much as all you StarCraft players do, but there's a certain lead balance designer on the SC2 team that I don't think he even plays. I know for a fact, the fact that he can't come up with the most basic balance solutions or recognize the most basic problems of the game is proof of the fact that he must not play this game anymore. I want to see you know who playing on ladder. I want to see him streaming games or playing on ladder, and I want to see if he's at least Masters League, because I doubt it. Because the fact that Swarm Notice are left in their current state, BCs, Carriers, Ravens, Infestor, Burrowcast is also ridiculously OP. You just have a permacloaked unit that can fungal. Like, no, that's frustrating. 3 Racks Reaper, by the way, still not addressed by the developers. It's incompetence and ignorance at the same time. And ego, as I mentioned before. That, like, these guys will not listen to people that know what they're talking about. I would have this game fixed balance-wise and bring back probably 100k players to the game within the span of 3 months. If I was the one balancing the game, I would get this game to be number 1 on Twitch within 3 to 5 months. If you less than that, I would say 3 months, because obviously it would take some time for people to see that I would be making changes like every other week that make the meta better and address actual balance issues. But Blizzard, the SC2 team, it's not all bad. Like, Tim Morton is a base god. I will give him credit. He seems to know what he's doing. But I think he mostly manages everything with the team. He's like the lead developer on the team. He's not like the person they have in charge of actual balance right now for multiplayer. Specifically, people don't seem to differentiate when I'm shit talking. I don't mean to shit talk Blizzard, and I know that's what people always post, little sound bites or clips or whatever, or say, like, you know, man, Avilo always shit talks David. Like, I'm not shit talking. It's specifically there's a problem with the balance for multiplayer. All the other stuff Blizzard is doing is fucking great. Skins finally in the game. They can do more with that to generate revenue, obviously. Skins are in the game, voice packs, all that stuff. You know, even the co-op commanders, even though I've never played them and I'm not going to invest in that, I can see the appeal to that, to the more casual fan base there. So all that stuff is great. But when it comes to the fucking competitive esport legacy, tournament legacy that is StarCraft Brood War and StarCraft 2, that's where it goes. That's where something is off. Something is off with Blizzard, and it can only be the lead balance designer that ignores the most basic of issues and thinks that tweaking balance means making every single unit of the game faster by 0.25 speed or 0.5 speed every patch. Like, oh, this unit's imbalanced or problem, I guess I'll increase its speed by 0.5. Wow, balance, my job is done. I'm gonna go drink pina coladas on the beach somewhere. Like, no. So once again, don't get me wrong, I fucking love Blizzard games. I love Blizzard. I love StarCraft 2. You know, I basically am making my living streaming the game. How would I, you know, I love the game as much as, but what I hate about the game is how multiplayer balance specifically is being handled. It's not being handled properly. And the person in charge of multiplayer balance should have been fired a long time ago. And I know that comes off as harsh, but it's been 4 years, 5 years since and it's been this guy has a proven track record of not knowing what the hell he's doing. Either put him on another development team, get somebody that knows what they're doing, because he is literally killing the game. As much as people want to say this killed the game, that killed the game, tournaments in Korea, disappearing, or match fixing scandals, no, none of that matters. What killed the game competitively is the multiplayer balance. Can you guys imagine if in MOBA games for League of Legends, Dota 2, or whatever other competitive game, Overwatch, can you imagine having an entire year with no balance patches, and then when they do finally balance patch a year later, the balance patch is so shitty and so off the mark, and then they don't patch for another 6 months to a year? Can you fucking imagine those other games being successful or as big as they are now? Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. StarCraft 2 can be, contrary to what caster shills and people, the unrealistic people in StarCraft 2 community want to say, this game can be made great again. this game can literally be made great again, and it can be awesome if they have somebody that knows multiplayer balance like the back of their hand. You know? And like I said, if they wanted to hire me for free, I would do that because I love the game that much. I would fucking do that. But at this point, they need to get somebody that knows what they're doing to work on multiplayer balance. Somebody that also doesn't have an ego and is willing to listen to other opinions. And also, I think the number one thing that I mentioned earlier in this video, they need to get somebody in charge of multiplayer balance that plays the game with all three races at a Masters to GM level actively, and that can do everything. Mech, Bio, Sky Terran, Sky Toss, Sky Zerg, Ground Zerg, Lingbane, Lingmuta, Roach Hydra, Viper. They need somebody that can not only know how to balance all that, but that can play all of those things at least a Masters to GM level, preferably GM level. Because if they get somebody like that, if they could find somebody like that in the world, hint, 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 anybody out there that has that skill set, if they could find somebody like that, that person would have a lot of perspective on all three races and fix issues that plague all three races in the game. So yeah, anyways, there you go. There's my multiplayer balance update, I guess, along with some other talk about things. But yeah, the meta, too long didn't listen version of this video, guys. If you play Terran, TVP, Turtle to BCs or die to carriers. TBZ, if you play Mech, Swarmos are imbalanced, Infestors are imbalanced, Vipers imbalanced. But Ravens are also the only thing. If you can max out on with like 10 to 20 Ravens, then you can fight the imbalance with your own imbalance, kind of. And then TVT, both Mech and Bio are viable. Actually, the TVT meta is pretty interesting because most people still play Bio, but now they play like the very full NA Bio style where they just start randomly at some point in the game, they just throw down 2 extra starports or a second reactor starport, and they start spamming Vikings like 4 or 5 at a time, which doesn't work against Mech if you play Mech solid. But anyways, that's the meta right now. So yeah, peace out, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll be back, try and make some more videos. I've been slacking on my YouTube videos. So there you go. I'm going to upload this before I go to bed. Peace out. I'll be on stream tomorrow. See you guys later. Peace.